So today, we're diving into an ancient story that, believe it or not, holds a super modern lesson. It's basically a masterclass from the Buddha himself on how to handle those really difficult conversations.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You've got something you have to say, something that's true and important, but you just know the other person is not going to want to hear it. So what do? Well, about 2,500 years ago, the Buddha was put to the ultimate test on this very question.
Okay, so our story doesn't start with a friendly chat. Nope. It begins with a very carefully laid trap involving a prince, a rival teacher, and a plan to publicly humiliate the Buddha. So there's this prominent Jain teacher, and he goes to a man named Prince Abhaya with this brilliant plan. He gives the prince a question so cleverly designed that there's just no good answer. The whole point is to corner the Buddha to make him look like a total hypocrite or a fool right in front of everyone.
The Jain teacher even uses this incredibly graphic image to describe the dilemma he's cooking up. He wants the Buddha to be so intellectually paralyzed by the question that he's just stuck, no escape.
And here's how the trap wants. It's a classic catch-22. Prince Abhaya is going to ask if a Buddha would ever say something that people dislike. Now, if the Buddha says yes, well then he's no better than any old person who says mean things. But if he says no, he's totally caught in a lie, because everyone knew he'd said some pretty harsh, though true, things about his rebellious cousin, Devadatta. You see, he's trapped.
So, armed with this perfect intellectual weapon, Prince Abhaya goes and sets the stage for the big confrontation.
The prince plays it totally cool. He invites the Buddha over for a meal, serves him, waits till he's all finished, and then, with the trap perfectly set, he drops the question.
And there it is, the gotcha question. You can just imagine the tension in the room, right? The prince delivered his lines. The trap is sprung. What's the Buddha going to say? Yes or no?
But the Buddha, he does something brilliant. He just completely refuses the premise. He doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. Instead, he says, this matter is not categorical. Basically, he's saying, hey, it's not a simple black and white issue. He just sidesteps the whole trap, and in doing so, he opens up this space for a real teaching moment.
Okay, so now that the trap is dismantled, the Buddha totally flips the script. He goes on the offense, but a teaching offense. And he uses this incredibly powerful analogy to completely reframe the whole problem.
This is just a masterful move. The Buddha sees that Prince Abhaya's own little baby son is sitting right there on his lap. And he points to the kid and asks a very simple, very direct question. Prince, what would you do if this little boy had a stone in his mouth and was choking?
The prince, just speaking as a dad, lays out this very clear, escalating plan. He'd start gently, of course, but if that didn't work, he'd do whatever it took to save his son. Even if it meant using force, even if it meant causing a little pain and drawing a bit of blood to get that stone out.
And when the Buddha asks why would he risk hurting his own child? The prince gives the one answer that unlocks this entire teaching. Because I have sympathy for the boy, sir. Compassion. That's the key. The motivation is what matters. Sometimes a small harm is okay if it prevents a much, much greater one.
So that feeling, that compassionate instinct, becomes the foundation for the Buddha's own rules for speech. He then gives the prince this super clear, really practical framework for deciding what to say and when.
Okay, so this framework is built on two big questions. Is it true, and is it beneficial? So first off, anything that's untrue, just don't say it. Easy. Anything that's true but is totally pointless or harmful, also out. But here's the most important part, right at the top. When something is true and it's beneficial, but it's disliked, you still say it. But, and this is the absolute key, you have to wait for the right time.
So after all that logic, what does this whole thing boil down to? It's one thing. It's the exact same reason the prince would save his son from choking. The guiding principle for everything you say has to be compassion. Your motivation has to be a real, genuine desire to help, to relieve suffering, to benefit someone else. That's the ultimate filter.
Now, Prince Abhaya is obviously blown away by all this, but he's got one last question. He wants to know if this incredible performance was all just a prepared speech or something else. I mean, what a fantastic question. The prince is basically asking, are you just like really good at debating? Do you have these pre-planned answers for every situation? Or do the answers just come to you?
And once again, the Buddha uses an analogy. And this time, he tailors it perfectly to the prince, who, as it turns out, was known for being an expert charioteer.
So the Buddha asks the prince, when somebody asks you about a part on your chariot, do you have to sit there and think up an answer, or does it just come to you? And the prince says, of course it just comes to me. I'm a master. I know the chariot inside and out. The Buddha explains that's exactly how it is for him. It's not about memorizing lines. It's about having such a deep, integrated understanding of the principles that the right response just arises on its own, perfectly suited to that exact moment. And that's it. The guy who showed up trying to trap the Buddha is just completely won over. He declares the teaching excellent and becomes a follower right there on the spot. He came looking for a debate, but he left with genuine wisdom.
So this ancient story really leaves us with a modern challenge. Think about your own life. Apply that framework. Is it true? Is it beneficial? And most importantly, is it motivated by genuine compassion? And if the answer to all three is yes, well, maybe it's time to find the right moment to speak that difficult truth.